Rigaroga here. Ta-da! Howdy! Hi! Welcome! Welcome to Stranger Things. I actually just binge watched the whole of season 3. I went back and watched the very, very, very first D&D scene of the first episode of the first season, and then binge watched the entire third season last night. Yeah, anyhow, so it's early in the morning here. I'm trying to do this before it gets too warm. I've been threatening to do this to myself for a long time. And so it's like, apparently it's time to do this now. I'm going to try this out. It's going to be this, for this thing, I'm going to go through, the Stranger Things starter set. Excuse me as I burp. And I'm going to do it solo. I'm going to try using 5e for the most part. Yeah, I mean, let's just go into it. So, I mean, I have opened it. I have played around with it. But, I mean, it's got the red box kind of thing. I should actually... So I have a lot of the old stuff, but Resh, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. I'm actually gonna go get the red box. I'll be right back. So it's pretty cool, actually. If you want to compare, I should have had this already, but this is the old red box. This was not my first box set. The first box set was a blue. It was a really light pale blue, and I still have the manuals. I think the box got destroyed, but anyhow, so this is the original basic rule set. That came out after. I had actually been playing for a while. I had the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons from the very beginning. Before even I think the Monster Manual was the very first thing that came out, and it was so weird because it was the monsters, but you didn't have any rules of how to play, because the player's guide, player's handbook, and the dungeon master guide hadn't come out yet. So anyhow, those came out later. But anyhow, so this was the original red box that I had, and then this is the new Stranger Things one. That's pretty cool. And in season 3, it was kind of funny because it kind of looked like they had some of the pictures and stuff from this set up on the wall. But yeah, so let's open it up. I have opened it up and messed around, but so the first thing you see is a lot of empty space, but they have this insert with the two demigorgons, and they're actually they're squishy. they're squishy figures. It's kind of crazy. So anyhow, that's the demigorgon. That's the painted one anyway. Hopefully that's not too blurry. I don't understand why my camera is so blurry, but so it's pretty cool. It's pretty detailed. And then there's a second one so that you can, if you want to get into painting, you can paint that. So there's actually 2 demigorgons. And is it cast in actually slightly different? I suppose that's paint, but it kind of looks like it's cast in a separate color. Huh. Anyhow, that's kind of cool. So anyhow, so those 2 come with the set, so that you can slap them on down on the game field, on the game field, on the table. Woo! And then the other things that come in it, there's really, honestly, there's not a lot, but and also it does come with the dice. It comes with one. There's actually 3 sets of dice here, but it comes with 1 set of the blue dice, which are the same dice that come in the basic set. So there's only 1 of each of the dice. No, yeah. Oh, that's right. No, there's a 10 missing. There. Yeah, so it comes with the set of... the platonic solids, as one would expect. Yeah, and then inside the box, there's the adventure book that is made to look like... it's actually... I don't think the original campaign book... I think it was like a... It was like a lab book or something. It wasn't a peachy looking thing, but this is essentially the look of Mike's DM screen, at least in the 3rd season, and I don't remember what it looked like in the first season. But so this is the adventure, and it's pretty cool. It's got all kinds of stuff and illustration, and it's kind of in the style of, you know, a personal campaign. It's pretty well written out, and we'll go through that. And then it comes with a starter set rule book. This is pretty much identical to the starter set, except that it comes with Stranger Things images, still photos, and just sort of overall design of the chapter headings and stuff like that. But it's essentially the same. It does, of course, come with like Demigorgon and stuff like that in here. One interesting thing, though, I note is that in the adventure, there's a giant frog, and it says that it's in here, but it's not. So they messed that up. And that's actually funny because on D&D Beyond, the giant frog is there, but if you buy the Hunt for the Thessalhydra adventure, the troglodytes aren't linked. You have to get the monster manual separately in order to get the troglodytes, but the troglodytes are like a major monster in the set. And then this also comes with a bunch of characters. Now, I went and I actually tried to find what the character names for Stranger Things were, and the only one I remember was Will the Wise, and the other characters I don't think get named other than the player names, like Dustin and whatever. So it's really interesting. But so anyhow, so I'll have these characters to play out, and it comes with quite a few. So it comes with a ranger, wizard, bard, cleric, and paladin. Now there's no zoomer, so Max's character isn't part of this set, which is kind of a bummer. But you know, what are you gonna do? So for this first one, I'm gonna pull these guys out, and let's get this back in here and put this down. Get that out of the way. Now, some other things that I'm going to be using while I try to torture myself with this is I got the Adventure on D&D Beyond, so I'll actually be reading from that, I think, instead of these manuals and the basic rules, so I've got the dice from the starter set, the Stranger Things starter set, and actually the essentials. So I'll have those ready. And I'm also going to be using, as I play, I'm going to be using the Looney pyramids as my figures. If you know, because I think I'm going to be doing a little bit of mapping, probably this session, and so I'm going to actually use these as my players, as my minis, and then these will be monsters as I need them. And then I have some other stuff. So yeah, anyhow, so this is what those Looney pyramids are. They come in small sets, or there's actually the Pyramid Arcade is a huge set that got kickstarted. It's a big box with a whole bunch of them. Anyhow, so I'll have those handy for myself if I need them. And then other stuff I have, Post-it notes and, all that kind of stuff. And then I'll be doing maybe a little bit of mapping. So I actually have one of the maps under here, and I didn't really have a chance to see. I hope it doesn't reveal too much, but I've got this in order to do some sort of actual mapping at the table. And I guess the pencil is probably a little bit too light. I might do that in ink instead. One of the other things that I have that I'm going to be using is I've got these little cards, printable cards, fillable cards from Arcane Library, which is somebody that I know from mostly Instagram. But they're little cards for monsters and characters. And I'll use them probably mostly for initiative order and things like that, but that'll help me out as I'm playing. And anyhow, so let's just, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just going to be, doing my best to play this solo, and we'll see how it goes. Kind of just telling a story for myself. And so we'll just go through and see how it goes. So nominally this is a adventure that was created by Mike Wheeler, Will the Wise. Drawn by Will the Wise himself is an illustration that's in the inside cover, and that actually is on the wall in season 3. I don't know how much of this to read out. I guess it's kind of interesting. There's some introductory notes. We should be able to finish this story in one night. I'll probably be doing this. Whoa! Hey! Stop that. Yeah, whatever. Don't give me that. I don't know how to do this. Hold on. You're little monsters. Okay, hold on. Oh, this is gonna be a disaster. Okay, well, we'll try. We'll try to do that. Okay, sorry about that. One of the cats just tried to knock over my lamp that I have shining on the dice tray. Ay. God, they're going crazy. No! Why must they do this when I'm filming? Okay, anyhow. And it says, don't rush it as long as everyone's having fun. Take as long as necessary. It's all about the fun. I'm going to try to describe each of the scenes, what's there. And let's see. Yeah, and again, like this, I'm doing solo, so I'm not going to worry too much about the rules. I'm going to try my best, but this is literally my first campaign that I'm running in 5e ever. I've played a little bit of 5e, which you can see on my archive videos and on my YouTube and stuff. But so this is really an experiment. We'll see. And it's going to be interesting because I'm not sure how this will play out, but I'm going to try, I guess, because I'm doing it solo. There's going to be a lot of information that you and I know, the viewer and me, that we know about what's going on, that I'm just sort of going to end up trying to reveal to the characters, and I'll play the characters as best I can without that information. But so the characters have been summoned by Sir Tristan, the ruler of a small domain in a lonely stretch of mountains, and a terrible monster called the Thessalhydra has been attacking his realm. It's a strange and dreadful creature with 8 heads surrounding a large circular mouth rimmed with jagged teeth. Its maw drips with acid, and its tail ends in a pair of sharp pincers. Tristan asks the characters to get rid of this menace. The Thessalhydra was last seen going into caverns belonging to an unfriendly tribe of troglodytes. The characters must enter the tavern. Well, that's part of adventuring too. Enter the cavern and deal with the stinky trogs. Following the Thessalhydra's trail leads them into a cursed labyrinth where they meet the lost knight. He'll help them escape only if they prove themselves worthy by solving his riddles. The way to escape from the labyrinth is through a portal into a strange and dark parallel dimension called the Upside Down. Where there the characters meet the proud princess, a powerful adventurer who has her own quest and wants nothing to do with the characters. She shows them the way out of the Upside Down and into the Thessalhydra's lair. If the characters can beat the Thessalhydra and bring its heads back to Sir Tristan, they have successfully finished the adventure. So we're gonna start. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna try. As crazy as it sounds, I'm gonna actually try to go ahead and play with all of these characters. And I just noticed actually that they're numbered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know why they're numbered in that order. It's kind of weird. But anyhow, so we've got our 5 characters, and our 5 characters are invited to the throne room for an audience, and the characters we've met Sir Tristan before, so we're familiar with this, and we've probably had an audience with him before. He sponsored them. Sir Tristan sponsored the characters on an earlier adventure. And proved himself to be kind to his people and a good friend to the characters. So we think we can trust him. So Sir Tristan explains what's going on, explains that there's this monster called the Thessalhydra that appears out of nowhere and attacks local farms and villages and even the castle itself. And the soldiers in the castle could just, all of them together could just barely fight it off. So, clearly, the heroes are needed. After each attack, the Thessalhydra disappears into the woods and leaves no trail that anyone has been able to find. Tristan explains, and even if we could find it, we can't send the guards after the monster. That the guards are necessary at the castle. They already have jobs, and they know that they're not strong enough to beat them. They can just barely keep them from attacking the castle. So clearly, we need some. Tristan explains we need some heroes to come in and save the day. So Tristan, will you help us out? We need you to hunt down and kill the Thessalhydra and return with its heads. hopefully, if you can get the heads back in good enough shape, we'll get them stuffed and put on the wall, and as trophies, and we'll always be able to tell everyone that it was you that did that. There are some royal advisors who are nodding their heads, and guards who fought the monster, and the royal advisors explain their strategy in trying to protect everyone that they can, but that that doesn't extend to having the resources to be able to go and defeat them. And there's some guards that talk about like what it looks like, and just they describe this monster with an incredibly powerful monster with teeth and the pincered tail and all that sort of stuff, that and they describe like different instances where they've run into this creature. And I think at that point, after that, all that information is passed back and forth, Tristan turns to the adventurers and says, "So, obviously this is a harrowing task for heroes, and you are our heroes. So, will you take this on?" And I think the heroes are, I think all of the characters are pretty much. Oh, excuse me. It's still really early for me, so I'm yawning. Gotta get some oxygen. So I think they look at each other, and they're listening to this description. But when Sir Tristan turns to them and says, "You're our heroes, and we need you to be our heroes again," they all just sort of resolutely look at each other and say, "Yeah, of course, we'll do that." And Sir Tristan is, this is wonderful, and of course, we will reward you, and I can help with some equipment to help you. I was afraid that you might not want to go, but we're so happy. Everyone will be so much safer, and will be happy that. To sing your praises as you come back with with a successful end to your trip, and we give you I could offer you 100 gold pieces each from our coffers, and I can get you some equipment, and sort of not claps, that's kind of classist in a way, but sort of indicates to the advisors, "Oh yes, of course," and they bring out a table, or a wagon, or some like an indoor wagon, with gold, and there's some equipment and things like that. These things, the advisor explains. I guess the advisor is a little bit like Q. Describing these things. So these two bags, they appear to be completely normal, but they can hold a great deal of stuff. Just be very careful about breaking the inside, or don't put them inside each other, or any sort of other dimensional space, because that will cause issues. But you can use these bags for the Thessalhydra's heads when you get them. And it'll make them lighter and easier to carry. And then offers to each character a ring of protection and a potion of healing. So each character will have that. That's pretty awesome. So the ring of protection is actually +1 AC, and I don't think that's on here. Yeah, so that isn't. Yeah, so this is stuff that's not on here yet. So So it's funny because this is actually these character sheets are printed out, but you're immediately given stuff. So rings of protection, so +1 AC, and I can actually mark that probably on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and. So let's do 19, 17, 14, 13, and 20. Woo! Wow, the Paladin already has a 20. That's pretty impressive. So we'll use those, and then what else? 2 weapons. So we have a Wand of Magic Missiles. So the Wand of Magic Missiles has 7 charges. And we can cast the magic missile 1d6 plus 1. No, that's how many it gains. Oh, okay. So hold on. Wand of Magic Missiles casts magic missiles. (1d4 plus 1). Okay. And then the other thing, there's the last sort of the big present, if you will, is Winter's Dark Bite. And this is a great sword made of a black metal that we've never been able to identify. And it has magic that will work really well against the Thessalhydra. And so we're going to give that to you. I mean, it's magic to begin with, but then with the Thessalhydra, it will be even better. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's give Wand Magic Missile 1d. What was it? It was 1d4. See, I just can't quite remember. 1d4 plus 1 and 7 charges. So we'll give that, and then we've got Winter's Bite. Winter's Dark Bite. And secretly we know it's a +1 great sword. It's +3 versus Thessalhydra. And it's +4 in Upside Down. And it doesn't link Greatsword. Well, that's really interesting. It doesn't actually list Greatsword. Great sword. Hey, Zero. How you doing? Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. This is totally a weird, wacky experiment where I'm trying to run D&D solo for myself for the first time, and I'm using the Stranger Things box set. So yeah, so hopefully it'll go okay. But yeah, I'm having fun. It's early where I'm at, trying to stay out of the heat and stuff. How are you doing? So I'm just looking up right now. I'm looking up the Great Sword, and it's 2d6 slashing damage. And so I think we're probably going to give that, obviously, to the Paladin. And then the Wand of Magic Missiles, I would imagine. I mean, why would you not give that to the Wizard? Except that the Wizard Well, let's give it to the wizard. That'll just be some extra spells that the wizard will have. I'm gonna be using the there's 5 pre-gens that are in the game that are mostly inspired by Stranger Things, and so there's 5 characters, and there's a wood elf cleric level 3. They're all level 3. There's a human paladin. There's a half-orc ranger, a Hildorf bard, and a half-elf wizard. And so those are the pre-gens that are actually in the Stranger Things. And it comes with the full character sheet as well. But I'm using these. I'm using these little sheets that are from Arcane Library, just for quick reference and also for initiative order. So I've also got some of the monsters that I'll be meeting today, maybe today, and in this episode. So yeah, later on, I have the sort of set out like the essentials kit and the starter kit lined out with a bunch of other stuff, and I think that if I do that, I'm gonna have a solo character that's going to be a Goliath fighter with some sidekicks. And so I'm kind of fleshing that out. So I'll do more character generation with that, but with the starter sets, they have the pre-gens that are in them. And it is interesting. I mentioned this earlier when I first started, but started streaming this, but they don't ever really actually say what the character names are in the TV show. As far as I can tell, Will the Wise is the only character that sort of is given a name that isn't just the player's name, which I thought was interesting. And there's no Zoomer, so Max's character isn't in here. Obviously not a... Yeah, okay, well... So there's... you don't actually need to watch the show for any of this starter set stuff. I mean, it's got some callbacks and stuff. This Stranger Things starter set is portrayed as the game that they play, the campaign that they play in the TV show. So it's really not about the TV show at all. But as I play, I may throw in a few references and callbacks to season 2 and season 3, but this is mainly the adventure that they play in season 1. But they don't really they don't heavily go into it. They just sort of vaguely describe it. Anyhow, so yeah. It's kind of a cool framing. I mean, the idea is really kind of interesting. Is that it actually frames some of the themes for the overall series. Each season, that some of the themes in the campaign get reflected back and forth between the two. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of interesting how they do that. Anyhow, so I've met Sir Tristan. The characters have met Sir Tristan. Sir Tristan has described what's going on, and the advisors and some of the guards have explained what this Thessalhydra looks like and how it fights. And all sorts of stuff, and they've struck an agreement that obviously as heroes they're going to go off and try and figure out where this Thessalhydra is and bring back its heads, and then distributed some of these magical items, including Winter's Dark Bite, this amazing great sword. And so I think what happens then is that the characters sort of try and figure out what to do next. I think they'll just, obviously they'll get some information from the guards. I think the characters would ask, so which, the last attack, which direction did it go off in? And it seems like, generally speaking, the Thessalhydra is seen going off in this one direction, um, as it attacks, or the direction that it comes from and the direction that it retreats when the attack is over. And I think since they ask several people, and they go to some of the little villages and towns. Make a mini story setting one day for each of the genus. Genus. I'm not sure what that is. Is that a homebrew? Oh, genus. Species genus. That's interesting. So you're having like a species tree, and you're doing some taxonomy. That's kind of cool. Have like a separate story for each one, like an intro or something like that. So I think the characters are trying to figure out, where the attacks are coming from and where the Thessalhydra is going, and so they'll ask the villages, they'll ask the towns, and they'll go and they'll check out, what direction. And I think, I think at least one of them, probably, the wizard and, the more intelligence based characters are going to really figure out. They'll kind of triangulate, like, one town says the Thessalhydra came from this direction and went that direction, and then the other ones will say, so they'll kind of get this idea. And I think as they travel to like the first town, they talk to one of the merchants that got attacked, and the merchant will describe the how when the Thessalhydra has arrived, that the apples that he sells no longer taste as good. So maybe there's some magic effect that the Thessalhydra has on the environment, but that the crops are actually suffering because of the Thessalhydra's influence. And so the merchant is like, it's great that the attacks will stop as well, but you're also, you're helping out because, quality of life has gone down just in general, even when the Thessalhydra is not here. So, with incredibly thankful for you, heroes, heading off into the, distance and taking care of this Thessalhydra, and suspects that, that if that's true, the worst apples come from this particular direction, and that fits up with the triangulation of, where everybody is saying the things are coming from. Oh, cool. Lolth is, so you're doing a campaign with different tribes and stuff, yeah. In the, I assume in the Underdark with Loth and standing against Loth. That's pretty cool. Whoa, cats! You going crazy over there? Okay, so, and then I think in another town, or maybe on the road, they meet a priest that and they start talking about how they're off to fight this Thessalhydra to try and have you seen anything or heard anything about it. And the priest, I think, says that he doesn't particularly know anything much about the Thessalhydra, but that there is a tribe of troglodytes in nearby caverns that might know something about the Thessalhydra. And the reason why they might is because lesser monsters tend to worship larger monsters, and so they may have some relationship or know something more about the Thessalhydra. So that would be something good to check out. And I think as they go a little bit farther out, you know, sort of figuring out in this direction. They meet, you know, in the sort of starting to get a little bit more wooded as they're heading off into the distance, away from you know, the settlements and stuff, trying to find where if there's any trails or tracks or whatever, and they meet a woodcutter, and the woodcutter, you know, they describe what they're looking for, and that, you know, do you know anything about the caverns that are nearby? And the woodcutter, oh, you need to be really careful about the caves around here. Some of them are cursed, and once you enter them, you get lost in the tunnels, and you can never escape. They're not just normal. Jen, stop. Come here, Jen. Kitty's like, stop talking to yourself. Meow, meow. Jen, shut up. God, come on. So I think that's really great, and great information, and I think everybody looks at each other like, okay, so there's caves, there's cursed caves, and the caves have troglodytes in them. This is starting to shape up to be like something that we actually are going to have to be really careful about. So then there's this. I think you know, the farther out they sort of get to really isolated. You know, there's people who aren't really in the towns but are in their own little homesteads that are far off. And I think one of the people they meet as an elderly farmer, and, you know, they're passing by, and the elderly farmer is, you know, curmudgeonly, you know, doing his stuff around his farm, his bachelor farm. And yeah, I don't think there's no Thessalhydra. That's just people making that stuff up. But there is an owlbear, and it's been raiding these settlements near here and getting into my trash for its supper. I ain't never seen no Thessalhydra, but owlbears, we got plenty of those around here. And so it's like, okay, so we've definitely got a lot of stuff that we're trying to figure out. So we've got magic caves, okay, that you get lost in. The caves have Thessalhydras in them, and apparently there's also owlbears. and then we've got this Thessalhydra. Okay, we've started to collect. Like, this is not straightforward anymore. I think each time the characters sort of hear some new thing about, like, okay, so plot twist, there's this new thing going on. I think then, you know, they've gotten closer. They sort of start to see, like, there's definitely stuff going on. I think what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna try and now. I think that maybe the bard and the wizard, they both have you know, sort of nature. So I think that they're gonna try and search for the caves, and I think while they're doing that, the paladin and the ranger both having survival, that they're going to try and do like find tracks and trails for Thessalhydras or, you know, troglodytes, and sort of try and track those. So let's actually do like the very first kind of rolls. And by the way, Zero, I totally see. Thanks for, you know, it's really interesting stuff that you're detailing. I'd be really interested if you end up streaming them, you know, that would be some really interesting campaigns that you've got going. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do, first off, we're going to do, let's do a sort of let's look for tracks. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have the ranger, who has +3 wisdom. It's going to be a DC 12 to find this, and we're actually going to do the paladin is going to try and help with tracks. So we're going to try and do kind of splitting the party a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and roll, and we'll see how we do. Luckily we had advantage because that was a fail. So we've got 9, but it's +3, so that actually just manages DC 12. So they managed to find some tracks, and then I think that the bard and the wizard. Let's have them do an int nature check. Okay, that was much easier. So they sort of they look. I think that the ranger and the paladin, they're sort of like, they sort of are seeing tracks, but they're not brand new, but they kind of definitely see that there's the direction, and they're going to follow those tracks, and they sort of head in that direction. And then the bard and the wizard, they're like, oh, definitely, like, I mean, look at the lay of the land. If there are caves, you can see that they're going to be over in that direction, and so they head off in that direction, and they sort of triangulate. And I think that they, like in the forest, they kind of meet up, and they're like, they stumble on each other in the forest, and they definitely see in front of them. They've arrived at some caves, and what they basically what they see are a lot of tracks. So let's have investigation. I have survival. Let's do a survival wisdom. And we'll do that the same with the ranger and the paladin, doing +3 for the ranger and then advantage because the paladin is going to help. So actually that was awful. It's just like, it's so tracked up that they can't quite figure it out. So let's take a look at investigation. So the bard has a +6 for investigation. And the cleric okay, the bard and the wizard both are wizard at investigation. So we're going to do, it's going to be a +6. So they're going to investigate, sort of looking at the this entrance and scouting it to try and sort of see what's going on. And this is they actually didn't manage it. They didn't manage to do it. So it was 2 8s, and it was a DC 15 check. So they could have found a bunch of details about this cavern, but they just weren't really able to do it. It's too tracked up. But obviously there are creatures going in and out of here that they definitely figure out. So let's go ahead and we're going to switch over to this. We're going to try to do some old school mapping. And so what I've got here is, whoops, and I destroy the pen. So let's go ahead and we're going to, maybe our characters are hiding in the trees. So we're going to go ahead and get all of the characters. So what I've got is I've got these 5. So the light blue is the wizard. The purple is the bard. Green will be the ranger. Yellow is the paladin. And then we're going to do red is the cleric. So we've got those 5 characters, and they're going to be they're sort of hiding in the bushes doing recon. And so each square is 10 feet. And so this is what they see, a bunch of caverns and a bunch of rubble and And apparently there's some cats playing in the background. Okay, so hopefully, oh, and I should have switched over back to the tabletop. So sorry about that. So back to the tabletop. We've got our characters, and then this is the entrance to the caverns that they see. Um, so I think probably the first thing to do, the bard, we don't have a rogue per se, but I think what we'll do is we'll have the bard move up. So the purple bard is going to try and go stealth. And our stealth is +4. So let's go ahead and roll and just sort of see how well we do. Go into hide. So it's a 14. So, 10 being sort of like average human ability. So definitely did above average stealthing. So using stealth is going to move into the entrance to the cavern. And let's see what they see. I think there's just sort of like beyond the entrance, there's just sort of an empty area. So let's go ahead and, let's see what we've got. We've got an empty area. And I think from just the entrance, maybe can see that this goes down a little bit to another area. Cats are crazy. And then so there are another couple entrances. I think probably, maybe there's just enough light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so this is 60 feet. I think, the dwarf has dark vision. So the dark vision is enough that that the dwarf can see that there's a back wall just past that little area. So not much more. Can maybe peek around. Let's just actually, can peek around this corner and see that there's some stuff. So I think let's do what's passive perception. God, cats! You guys are going crazy. They're chasing each other back and forth through my library. So let's see. Passive perception is 12. I'm gonna do a DM. As the DM, I'm gonna do a roll. And the roll is a 9. So I think what happens is that let's do one more. I'm gonna do one other. So that roll was for this entrance, and then I'm gonna do one more. Is a 13. That's more than passive perception. But let's go ahead and now roll for I think with passive perception, the bard can definitely hear that there's some movement and stuff beyond here, and then I think so he hunkers down a little bit and tries listening a little bit closer to see if there's anything else he can hear. So let's go ahead and roll. Perception is +2. I don't think he hears anything more. He can't quite hear more, except that there's definitely a couple, more than one entity of some kind making noise past this area. So I think because the bard hears that, he's not going to motion to them to move forward, but is going to stealth back. and just sort of describe. Okay, so there's basically all I saw was that there was a cave, and I could hear some stuff in the distance, and a couple other areas. So instead of having you move up, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to stealth forward and look at the other areas really quickly, if that makes sense. Well, but you said that the cave is empty, right? So why don't we all move up? Well, but you're not stealthy, and there's definitely something that's farther in. Okay, that's fine. So check out the other areas, and then see what else you can find. Okay, so the bard then goes back, and is gonna do some more search. So I saw you, Zero. I saw you say a natural 20 for cuteness. What was that for? Is that for the little minis? Is that the minis in the map? I actually thought about using some. I have some larger ones, and I actually thought about using larger pieces. For the kitties, yeah. Anyhow, I thought about using using like caps for like a wizard cap and stuff on the pieces, but I ended up not doing that. Yeah, cats visit me a lot when I'm streaming. They come and say, Resh, up. Hi. So this is Resh. This is my Russian blue. And she's actually the mom of Jin, who just meowed. Hi. I know I'm talking out loud. Okay, it's okay. Oh, here's Jin. Here's Jin saying hello. Boop, boop. Okay. Jin is actually named Huginn, after one of the two ravens on Odin's shoulders. And Resh her full name is Ereshkigal, so the goddess of the underworld from Sumerian, Babylonian. Okay, anyhow, so yeah, kitties. I've got a few of them, and they visit, and they try and destroy things while I'm playing. And okay, so the bard is gonna go and try and stealth around to, I think, is gonna peek around the corner here. And so let's see what else. So we definitely see that it goes down, and there's a cavern, or the corridor kind of goes like that, and that's probably as much as he sees. Let's see. This is area 9. Let me just really quickly double check and see. Okay, we're going to do stealth dexterity. Whoa! Okay, natural 20, which plus 4 is 24. So that's like, for me, when I think about difficulty levels, I think of 10s as being sort of natural human average, and I think of 20s as being sort of like sort of heroic average. I mean, natural 20 is pretty amazing. That's the first natural 20 of the campaign, by the way. I think about that as being sort of like a heroic average. And then, 30s later on with, bonuses and whatnot become sort of legendary. So he just did a heroic level of stealth. And so he's going to come down and peek around, and I think what he sees, he definitely gets as far into seeing this cavern. So let's go ahead and sort of draw with 60 feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think he definitely can tell that there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we can get that far. And so what he sees here is that there's a sleeping owlbear here. So I'm gonna go ahead and I think I'll give the owlbear this black marker. And because of the stealth, he doesn't wake the owlbear at all. I think really carefully, maybe he'll actually look off in this direction and just sort of scout out. I mean, that's really why he's here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there's so in this area, he's able to see that there is a cavern, or a cave room, and then there's water. That's filling this area. Oh wow! You roll a character and you get all 6s for each stat once. And died the founder of a nation. Yeah, it's pretty. I don't know. I used to go super old school and just do first edition. You roll and you get what you get. But over the years, I sort of lightened up and then did like roll 4d6s and take the ones you like. And these days, I'm kind of into sort of point buy or standard array. And just go with that. I kind of like characters that aren't like amazing in a way. Like they've got to have a flaw. It's kind of like, if you like the Hidden Fortress, Akira Kurosawa's movie, which was in some ways inspiration for the first Star Wars movie. But the thing about that is that, like the story of how that was made is amazing. In that. Basically, Akira Kurosawa sort of started with the story and then went to the, put the characters in an impossible situation and then told the writers to get them out of it. And basically, they just did that and they iterated through. But if you don't have that sort of tension of failure, then I really like that, because then you get to play with it. It's like, what does it look like when this character fails? How do they succeed even when something goes bad? That sort of instead of being like a Mary Sue, but like Indiana Jones, who always screws up and makes a mess of everything, but somehow comes out of it. Okay, so I think maybe. I think definitely staying away from the water. We'll go ahead and we'll look into this next area. And I think maybe what they see is a room, and there's a door. And what's really interesting is that the door, it's clearly a constructed door, not just a slapdash. I think he would creep up. I think he would creep up enough. Well, let's see. Okay, passive perception. Let's go ahead and roll what they're doing. So they're actually as the DM, I'm rolling a 7 because I know that there's some creatures here. They're not being very quiet. So they rolled a 7. Passive perception. I think the bard definitely knows that somewhere in here there are enemies And so I think he's going to sneak back all the way back into this area and take a look down here and see what there is in this direction. Had somebody the follower of Io. Did you have an Io stone? Okay, so let's see. We're gonna go and take a look at that area. Okay, so I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think can definitely see a bunch more. And that it goes even farther down. Let's see. I'm just taking ahead. Oh, I guess Io stone. I'm thinking Ioun stone. Ioun stone is one of the the treasures, with the floating stones that you can have orbiting you. So I got those two confused. Sorry about that. Okay, so I think this is... I think he's going to see that this is empty. I think before entering it, he's going to try and do a perception, just sort of a... Yeah, let's just do a perception check. He's going to look around and just sort of see. It's a 2 plus a 2. He doesn't... I mean, even if there were anything to see, he probably wouldn't see it. Maybe he's just a little bit too excited after seeing the owlbear and hearing those things. But he's going to come through here. His passive perception is a 12. DC 10. I don't know. I don't really trust passive perception on this. We're gonna go ahead and give him a roll on this and just sort of see what he does. Okay, so he totally fails that. That's a fail. As he gets into this hallway, he's trying to. He's not really paying attention to the hallway. He's looking at the area beyond it. So let's give him he's gonna get a peek of what this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think he's gonna see that there's definitely a cavern a little bit farther on. And I think he's also gonna see very clearly that there are some chests and things in the center of this room. But when he gets into the middle of this, the middle of this cavern, he's going to trigger a trap, and his roll was so bad that he definitely didn't see it. But he's gonna have to do a dexterity save. So we're gonna do plus 4 dexterity. 11 plus 4 is 15. Okay, so that is enough to avoid having stuff fall on him. But what happens is that this tunnel collapses, and as it starts to collapse, he leaps back into this room. And so what happens now is that this entire hallway is collapsed and full of rubble, and it becomes impassable. So there's no way he starts to look at it, and it just looks like there's just no way to get beyond that. So whatever it was that was in there is definitely not accessible anymore. I think at this point, having made that noise, he's gonna quickly exit out, because I think let's take a look at a troglodyte really quickly. Okay, well, D&D Beyond won't show me anything about the troglodytes. Passive perception 10, normal human. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 160 feet? I don't think there's any way, like, a normal human would hear a bunch of rocks falling from that distance. So I think that's totally reasonable. He's gonna try and back out really quickly and get out and maybe hide over here. Let's roll a stealth roll for him. Okay, that was off the table, but it was an 18 plus 4, so that's over 20. So that's a heroic level of stealth again. I think as he rounds that corner and sort of hunkers down and hides, what he's going to see is basically a bunch of... This is going to be a group of 3 troglodytes are going to come around the corner, sort of, making noise and looking around. What was that? Except they don't speak common. They speak lizard speak, troglodytish, and I think they're going to go and check that area. And as they round that corner, well, I think they would post. I think they would post one guy right there, just sort of the buddy system. As the 3 go in there to try and look. And so I think the bard is now going to go back to our group and sort of describe everything that they saw so far. I think maybe the wizard... let's actually do a religion check with our cleric. What's our cleric's religion check? Is 3. So let's roll a 3 and a 2. So yeah, no. Okay. Cleric does not recognize anything about the description of any of these rooms. I think the wizard, the paladin is pretty hyped. I think paladin, of course, is hyped to go after these troglodytes. I'm gonna actually try and remember really quickly. Troglodytes are like lawful evil, or are they chaotic evil? They're chaotic evil. Okay, so they're not super organized. Or I mean, structured. They're organized, but they're not structured. It's a loose alliance. So they're not going to be super careful. I think, maybe this guy will wander off this way, just sort of because he knows that the bugbear is there. And so he's going to check and kind of listen to see if it's still sleeping, if it moves, which is a good thing. Let's see if the bugbear wakes up. So we're just gonna do a sort of a background DM roll against the passive perception. So I think the owl bear wakes up and starts making noise and looking around. Yeah, I think the owlbear wakes up and sort of heads on this direction, and I think that this guard sort of hears the owlbear coming and sort of yips and raises the alarm to say like come back, we got to get back. The owlbear's coming back. And so I think these guys are going to try and run back to their guard room, and the owlbear is going to sort of snuffle around here. Let's do a roll for him. Okay, so 4 I was doing basically is the owlbear making noise that would be recognized. And I think the passive perception on all of these characters is enough. Yeah, I mean, they're all above 10. So they're better than human at hearing stuff. The wizard is the least likely, but we've got a 14. The cleric has a 14. So I think that they hear the owlbear snuffling around, and so they all hunker down and try and figure out how to hide. The owlbear, I think, would... Let's just do another roll. This is an investigation roll. I don't think that... So the owlbear doesn't know where the noise came from beyond knowing that it came from this direction. So I think that they might just sort of hang out right there. So they're blocking the way. Oh, God, that's annoying. Would the owlbear come out? What do you think, Zero? What would the owlbear do? It heard the tumbling of the rocks. It doesn't know what direction it came from. It knows that there's troglodytes, and so it's probably going to... I think that the troglodytes and the owlbear sort of have maybe an uneasy alliance. That they know the owlbear is there and that it sleeps there, but they sort of guard the way. So that the owlbear doesn't attack them. But would it head out? Or would it go back to sleep? Okay, let's just do... let's do... Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was going to just sort of randomly roll 50-50, but yeah, it's tired, right? It's tired. I agree, Zero. You're right. So the owlbear sort of snuffles around, and I think the characters sort of wait, and the troglodytes have retreated back to their guard post, and then the owlbear like sort of gives up after a little while and heads back to sleep. Marks territory. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the owlbear will sort of mark the corners of this cavern a little bit, just to sort of say, this is mine. This is mine, and this is mine. This rock is mine. This rock is also mine. This part of the wall is mine. And then heads back to go to sleep. Should we do... I think... Let's go back to the beginning here. Oh, yeah, okay. Let's look. I didn't write down on there. So according to this, it's unaligned, so it doesn't have any particular alignment, which is weird. I guess it's just sort of a beastie, unaligned. Yeah, I think we'll just go with the yeah, well, I mean like troglodyte. I think monsters I mean the line what is a monster but like beasts and things like that, like animals. But like things that are organized in societies, I think would have like anything that's going to be organized in groups. Um not just familial groups, but like some sort of organized group would have some sort of alignment. So like the troglodytes have their tribe, and so then they develop an alignment. But like an owl bear, even if it's in like a mated group, doesn't necessarily. That's kind of how I was thinking about it. But yeah, I mean basically like a bat doesn't have an alignment, right? It just its alignment is flap. Flap and stay in the air and hunt. So let's do a survival nature check. You want to do that? Well, but see, here's the thing. I think I'm not going to leave that up to. I don't think. Well, no. Okay, hold on. Um, the Your suggestion is to roll a 20 and we'll do 50-50 whether it's evil and territorial or good and friendly. The thing that I'm trying to think of is like in relationship to the troglodytes, like let's think about their relationship. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean so the adventure doesn't say whether the troglodytes have some relationship with the owlbear. So let's go ahead. Let's go your way. Let's say is it evil and territorial, or not evil, but is it territorial and aggressive? Let's go with that. Territorial and aggressive, or is it sort of interested in having sort of a pet kind of relationship. So 10 and below 10, well, 10 and below, we're going to be sort of aggressive and territorial. Okay, so that was a 10. And so, yeah, so I think it's aggressive and territorial. I think that the troglodytes, in that case, they like it because it's it's like a trap. It's like having a trap. It's like having, like a shark in the moat. So, maybe they toss it some food occasionally and stuff to keep it around, right? But they want it around because it's aggressive and territorial, and so they want it in between them and anyone, trying to attack them. You asked the question of whether they worship it or honorable respect. The way the adventure is written, so the troglodytes actually have a shrine, and so they have a relationship with a deity. So I'm gonna say that they don't. They just sort of have a healthy respect for it, like one would have for bears in the wild. Don't mess with it. Don't try and be friendly with it. Keep your distance. But at the same time, it's nice to have this big nasty owlbear in the caves to keep people, humans and other tribes and things on their toes, because they know it's there. And we know that it goes out and it's hunting on the farms and stuff. So it's not eating troglodytes necessarily. There's I think the evidence suggests that it's not eating troglodytes. It's going out and it's eating from local farms and things like that. Okay, so I think that's what happens. So the next thing to do is to figure out what the characters would do. So we saw 4 troglodytes. We could take 4 troglodytes. The paladin is like, well, we could totally do that. And then the bard describes, like, I mean, so they're scratching out on the floor, in the dirt, this map of what's going on, and it does. I mean, they can't go that way. There is a way to go here, but they'd have to pass by the guards. If they can, if we can sneak past the owl bear, but there's 5 of us, and one of us is gonna screw up. I mean, so stealthy characters like the bard and the ranger maybe, could go around this way, and then the other characters could go around this way, and kind of pincer movement on this. But they don't know what's this way. So would they do that? I mean, the troglodytes aren't. I mean, let me step back for a second, because okay, so what the characters know, what we know about the troglodytes in the caves was that some caves are magical and you get lost in them. So they don't really want to get. Well, I guess the bard was pretty silly to go wander off so much, but they don't want to go too far and get lost. And that priest was saying that the troglodytes might know about larger monsters. So the characters want to talk to the troglodytes. Cantrips, charm person, comprehend languages, invisibility, suggest. So comprehend languages. And okay, so let's take a really quick look at let's head up and look at basic rules. Let's see, spells. Wizard. Comprehend languages. For the duration you understand the literal meaning of any spoken language that you hear. You also understand any written language that you see, but you must be touching the surface. Hey, Zero. Awesome. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good day. And thanks for the follow, by the way. I'll see you around. So the reason why I was looking at comprehend languages is because I wanted to see if I could talk to the troglodytes. So let me see cleric spells. Just really quickly looking for like spells that I could prepare that might help with speak with animals. No. So I think the bard and did I say the ranger? How's the ranger with stealth? Not super good, but okay. So I think the bard is going to how long does this last? Duration 1 hour. So the bard is going to cast comprehend languages. And is gonna move in again. Let's roll a stealth just to sort of get a sort of a baseline of how stealthy. So 12 plus I think it's 4. Yeah, so 16. So that's pretty good. It's not heroic, but it is pretty good. So we're gonna be able to stealth past, and taking a look and is able to see that the troglodytes have I think maybe actually looking, he's going to go ahead and look around the corner because he hadn't looked in this direction yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So can't quite see past there. Well, no, because I mean, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll give it. So there's actually some rocks here, and a bunch of rubble here. And so what I think is going to happen is that he's going to see that there are 8 troglodytes here. Hanging out. And I think mostly these troglodytes, they're going to be sort of paying attention to this owlbear. And I suspect that they think that whatever that crash was the owlbear, but they're confused because the owlbear was sleeping. So they think, so maybe we got it wrong. And I think that's what the bard hears. It hears them talking about, well, but we heard the crash and it came from that direction. But so it couldn't have been the owlbear. But it's like, and then another one of the troglodytes is like, no, it was totally the owlbear making noise or knocking some stuff down, and like, but it couldn't have been. It came from that direction. You saw that the tunnel collapsed. So they're trying to argue, like, how did it collapse on its own? Did it just fall or whatever? And I think they actually, and I think they actually start to say, well, but we should send somebody to go, and talk to somebody and talk to the chief and say, like, the owlbear woke up and that tunnel collapsed, and to check. To make sure that all of the treasure is safe, so the bard hears that. So I think what happens is maybe two of the guards start to head off, I think the bard is going to hide around the corner, but then two guards head off in this direction somewhere. So they've gone in that direction, and they're, obviously going to talk to somebody. But the bard hears that the rest of the troglodytes are sort of discussing more about the owlbear, and it sounds like the owlbear's gone back to sleep, so we can relax. But so two of them are going to be watching that a little bit closer. I think one of the troglodytes is superstitious and heads off in this direction. As a DM, I know that troglodyte is heading to the shrine there to worship, just sort of make a couple prayers to whatever it is, Loagesh or whatever it is that they worship. Because he's particularly superstitious, or they're particularly superstitious, and maybe it's a little far. I don't think actually that the bard can hear chanting or anything, but so what next? I think the bard would come out and sort of like, okay, come on, let's advance. So they're going to advance in. And try and... Did they decide? They didn't really decide what to do next, right? So what would they do? I don't think they would want to go in this direction, but they want to talk to... They want to talk to the troglodytes. Would they advance in there, though? How would they do that? How would I do that? I know that there's an owlbear, so, I mean, the idea of standing in here where there's the owlbear kind of sounds like a bad idea to me. So, actually, I think they're going to... I think that these characters are going to stay here. Deep speech. They only speak troglodyte. Okay. And so I wouldn't have that. I mean, I think their intention is not to attack them. It was to find information. So I think what we're going to do is the bard is going to... the bard and the ranger is going to stay back a little bit, just in case. And I think that these guys are going to... They're going to come to the entrance, I think. Oh, there's no way the paladin would stay behind. The paladin would totally come up and guard that entrance. Okay, so I think that's settled. We're definitely gonna come in. I think these two are gonna sort of hold back a little bit towards this way because they know this is blocked off. But they're gonna be in the cavern along this wall. And I think that so the bard is going to sort of step around the corner. The little dwarven guard. Dwarven, right? Hildorf? Yeah. Is going to step around the corner and kind of you know, hey, hey, Trogs, yo, Trogs. And I think the Trogs like hear that, and then so they immediately gear up, and head off. You know, yip 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 yip. And they're saying, "What are you doing here? Who are you?" And the bard, not able to speak Trog, but is able to just sort of, no weapons. We'd like to talk. Anyone talk common? And I think one of them, that they sort of like in this sort of standoff. Part of the problem for these guys is that they know that they're kind of trapped in a way between the owlbear and then this awful caverns, and they don't want to, so they don't really want to go that way, and the rest of the camp is that way for them. So I think they're going, we don't understand you. We don't understand you. What are you doing here? And the bar is like, oh, let's just go ahead and let's do a persuasion check. And I think that the ranger is going to try and help. Not oh wait, that's not the ranger. It's not proficient in it, but we'll give him a help. Looking less threatening in a way. But whispering, in his ear, don't go for your weapons, So it's a 17 plus a couple. So I think that's a pretty successful. That's actually persuasion plus 3. So that's actually 20. So that's kind of a heroic level of persuasion. So I think the bard is totally, able to face this, be the face of the group and sort of, it's, I've got people, I've got people back behind me, right? For me, can we talk? Do you have somebody that talks common? Do you have somebody that we can communicate with? And I think they slowly start to comprehend that, that they want to parlay, and they say, back up to that room. We'll get somebody. We'll get our chief. And the bard goes, yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go ahead. I think everybody is going to back up into this area. And the bard will stay here. And I think maybe, two of the trogs will stay here. One of the trogs, two are sort of watching the area. They're calling this one back. They're going to send this other solitary trog off to go get the chief, right? Okay, so I think after a few minutes of sort of standoffish, yip, I guess yip is more of a kobold kind of thing, right? But anyhow, so they're kind of holding that area, not letting people. I think that the dwarf was hanging, sort of towards the door, but they're like, back up farther, get back into the cavern. But they're being, they know that owlbear is there. So, okay, are they are they being loud, and are they trying to be loud enough that the owlbear will wake up? Like, are they intentionally doing that? No, because the persuasion was heroic. I think they're like, back up, get in there, but be quiet. Don't make too much noise, because the owlbear will wake up. Okay, so I think that happens. I think these troglodytes come back, and so they're backing up, and I think maybe like the chieftain, I think the chieftain comes out. Let's go ahead and yeah, let's mark these guys come back. So there's these 8, and who knows? There's probably more. But I think the chieftain comes out and meets with the party. Now, the thing that I know is that the chieftain actually talks common. Let me go read this really quickly. Troglodyte leader. So the troglodyte leader speaks common, and so I think that the troglodyte leader has been summoned, and I mean everybody else is on high alert. So we know whatever else is happening. That they're starting to get ready for a fight if they need to. So they won't be surprised at all. But I think the Trog leader sort of comes out and says, sort of peeks around and like looks, and so, adventurers, why are you here? What do you want? And I think they say like we want to talk. We want to ask you about things. We're here because there's a monster, a giant monster, that's attacking our towns and our villages, and we're trying to figure out what it is and how to deal with it. And so I think the troglodyte leader sort of hears that and recognizes immediately, oh yes, of course, we understand that. But this area's right here isn't safe because there's this owlbear. So let me have you come back to this chamber, not the guard post, but to this main chamber. So let's see, what's 5? Common chamber. I think they pass through. Guards in the back. There are a ton of troglodytes here in this area. They're all nervous and sort of staying by the walls and sort of, this is obviously some sort of common room. Let me go ahead and actually draw that in. So there's this common room, and there's, as they pass through, the leader is, grabbing the party and saying, come back to our, our meeting room and away from the owlbear so we can talk. And there's a bunch of trash and detritus over in this corner. I wonder if this used to be a tunnel right there, and that it got collapsed. So the leader leads them in. There's a bunch of trogs here, and then they pass into this additional. Why did I close the pen? Okay, and so let's see. So we got trogs here. How many? There's 5. Okay, so there's another 4 troglodytes here. So they're definitely getting a clue about how many troglodytes there are in this place. So there's 9, but there's actually 10 there. And then 5 troglodytes here. So they're gonna sit in here. I think these troglodytes are sort of protecting. Well, one of them will be in this alcove back here, which we know is a direction towards a chamber with treasure, but there didn't seem to be a door or anything. So I guess let's roll an insight. Let's the bard. Let's do an insight. Is +2. I think he's gonna talk with the wizard and sort of say, hey, look, there was treasure in a room back there. So 7 and 3. No, I don't think they're a little too busy. They don't quite like put it together. That that there might be something architectural that they could discover there. So they advance, and they're the bard is not necessarily using comprehend languages anymore, but except listening to what the other troglodytes are saying. And so far it hasn't been threatening. So that I think that basically the troglodyte leaders starts to say, so this monster, we know of this. It's a we're living here on our own, trying to live in this environment. We don't want to rile up you humans, or you what would they collectively call surface dwellers or something? I mean, they've got some troglodytish word, right, for people that don't live in non-troglodytes. You non-trogs, we don't want to get you all riled up. We just want to be able to live our lives as individuals, and do our thing, and so if you don't attack us, we won't attack you. But that creature, we definitely know it passes through here. It comes from the woods, and it passes through the caves and enters. And he uses some words that are like some dangerous, some evil, magically evil, magically harmful, twisty caves. Magically harmful twisty caves is what he says in common. But it never travels the other way. It never comes back. It always goes just the one way. So it's clearly not, it's not getting lost, right? But it's not coming back. So it's going through, like this is the characters talking to each other, to themselves. So somehow it's going through these caves, and then getting somewhere else, and then looping back around. The wizards is, not Misty Step, but maybe some sort of teleportation. We didn't have any of the people that we talked to talk about it teleporting anywhere. So they're like, what in the world is going on with this? So I think that's pretty much all of the information. And they're like, the Trog leader is trying to figure out. So you're not here to attack us, and are you going to leave us alone, leave us to our lives? And I think that the characters huddle together and just sort of try and say, no, we're not here for you. We actually came to, we're here for you in the sense that we came to talk to you because we wanted to know if you had heard anything. And so if that is all the information that you have, we can be on our way. We're going to go after that creature into the magically harmful twisty caves. And the troglodytes, good luck, but you're going to need it. That thing it's huge. And those twisty caves are magically harmful. As I said. And so I think that's pretty much like, they maybe do some small talk and stuff, and they say, so why don't you show us false treasure room. I don't think they'll take them this way. They'll be re-guided through the guard room, this way to this door. Oh, except that's the... Yeah, I think so. They'll have a couple guards posted here to make sure that they don't touch anything while they go through. Let's do another. As they're guided through back, not this way, but through the guard station, and then guided over to the. Over this way. Let's have the cleric make a really quick check. Come on. Let's see. Religion. +3. Okay, so let's do a +3. 13 +3 is 16, so that's pretty darn good. Halfway between human and heroic. I think the cleric recognizes this is their temple to the Logzid, the dark god of the troglodytes. And I think that the troglodyte leader here's the cleric describing, and I think not necessarily like admiring, but sort of recognizing game, as far as like the cleric is able to recognize the actual deity that they are worshiping, and there's altar rotten meat and gold, and I think that the cleric asks, like, can I put coin? Would you be willing to let me put coin on your and takes like 1 gold piece, I think. Let's see. Let's do a persuasion. Let's do the cleric is doing a persuasion. It's a 0. So it'll just be a straight roll. So let's actually do matched challenge roll. So the red will be the troglodyte. A 1 and a 2. And I think no, that's no, absolutely not. It's not allowed. It's not allowed. Oh, okay. Backs up. I didn't mean to offend. We didn't mean to offend. Sorry I even asked. So we almost go to blows at the mere suggestion of the cleric participating. So that was clearly a mistake. But so they point now to this door that goes in. Now that past that door is the magically dangerous Twisty Caves. And go that way, and get out of our hair. I don't know what a troglodyte would say. Get out of our trash. Get out of our temple. And I think that the groups, like they look at each other. There's like a lot of them and a lot of us. And I think we just sort of recognize, okay, this is clearly, this is the end of our friendship as far as it goes. Maybe we'll meet again. I think the bard is like, thank you for your help. Thank you for the information. Thank you for your help getting to the Twisty Caves. And we wish you well. And the trogs. Excuse me. The trogs are all looking at each other, going, I like these guys. These non-trogs are nuts. But good luck. So long. Have fun storming the castle, kind of thing. And so I think that's what happens is that they head off into these caves. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to actually clear out the troglodytes right now because we've kind of moved to the next thing. Oops. So what is it that we see past here? And I think it goes like that. So I think that's the extent of what they see from where they're at. They're sort of standing around looking. Maybe they spread out a little bit to sort of look. Let's see, what else do they see down here? So do they see another? I think they look around that corner, then they see that there's another door. And let's see. And I think that's a blocked off thing right there. So I think they're peeking around and they see this other door, and I think they're thinking like that's probably that's the direction to go. Let me really quickly. This is this is basically just a normal maze-ish kind of thing with twisting and turning hallways that intersect. And I think that's what's going to happen is that they, they're peeking around corners and seeing a door, and then they kibitz and they go, well, let's go to the door, and so they head out to this door, this second door, and so they're firmly in this labyrinth area, and I think that's where I'm going to call it for today, is that they're at this door, and they just opened it. And then, so we're going to go ahead and call it, and we're going to continue in the next episode. So, yeah, so awesome. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks for Zero for hanging out and for the follow. And that was the first ever 5e campaign that I've run. And, trying to do this solo kind of. My idea is I have so much role-playing stuff that I never get to play because I don't have a group. And so I kind of want to work through a bunch of it. I want to work through it and play it and kind of think about it. As a kid, I didn't have a lot of people that I played with, so I used to make characters and draw maps and all sorts of stuff. And, living a life of mind, not engaged in the world so much, but... this is my excuse to kind of get back to that kind of look at all that stuff that I never really got to play, but to actually kind of play it in a more substantial form. So yeah. So thanks so much for hanging out. And so that was pretty fun. It wasn't very combat oriented, but that's kind of I don't really want to murder hobo, maybe some other characters will be murder hobos, but I think that these guys are more thoughtful, or at least part of the party is more thoughtful. And so we'll see how it goes. And see, now that we're in the labyrinth, we'll see what happens with the labyrinth and go from there. So thanks for hanging out, and I'll talk to you next time.